At the very beginning, the scene opens with flashing red and blue lights cutting through the night. An ambulance speeds down a deserted road, carrying within it the fragile breath of life. On the stretcher lies a young man, pale, his body trembling on the edge of existence. But fate is cruel. Before the ambulance even reaches the hospital, the boy exhales his final breath. His story, however, does not end here. It only begins. This boy had signed an organ donation form, pledging that his body, even in death, would grant life to others. His organs were quickly prepared for transplantation. In the operating room, 2 surgeons stood ready, but as their scalpels met flesh, they froze. The boy's skin was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Thick, almost impenetrable, harder than that of a rhinoceros. Sweat poured down their brows as they struggled to extract his organs, their tools straining against his body's unnatural strength. Hours later, the operation was finally complete. But just as relief washed over them, a nurse suddenly ran out, screaming in horror. The doctors rushed back into the theater, only to find that the young man's body had completely disintegrated. All that remained was a pile of ashes. Among the organs removed was a heart, given to a fragile young girl named Lisa. Astonishingly, her body did not reject the transplant. Instead, it embraced it. Within days, she was fully healed, stronger, healthier than ever before. But with this miracle came a mystery. On her hand appeared a perfect round mark, as though tattooed onto her skin, a mark she had never received. Lisa's father, a devoted taekwondo instructor, had raised her with discipline and martial arts since she was a child. But after suffering a heart attack during one of her matches, he became terrified for her safety. He forbade her from fighting ever again. Still, the spirit of taekwondo burned fiercely inside Lisa. One afternoon, while her father was distracted in conversation with their landlord, Lisa's eyes fell on the punching bag. She spun, delivering a sharp kick. With a deafening crash, the bag tore through the ceiling. Her father turned, astonished, but Lisa herself was stunned. She had never possessed such power, not even at her physical peak. Curiosity and exhilaration burned inside her. She needed to know just how strong she had become. Lacing her shoes tightly, she darted outside. The hill before her loomed steep, but she sprinted upward with impossible speed. So fast she overtook a scooter rider struggling on the incline. For a moment she felt airborne, like she might fly. But speed is not without danger. As the hill sloped sharply downward, she lost control, barreling straight into a small truck. The impact was so intense, the vehicle nearly toppled over. Lisa's heart was no ordinary gift. It had made her superhuman. Unbeknownst to her, a passerby filmed the entire event. The video spread online, Lisa's name and taekwondo uniform clearly visible. Among those who saw it was a boy named Tom. Driven by curiosity, he hurried to her gym, camera in hand. But when he tried to take her photo from afar, Lisa moved like lightning, catching him instantly. Shocked, Tom revealed his own secret. He too bore a strange circular mark. Tom explained that he had received a lung transplant from the same donor. With it came a terrifying gift. When he exhaled with force, storms themselves would answer. He believed that since a body could donate 6 organs, there must be 6 chosen people. 6 souls carrying powers beyond human imagination. Together, Lisa and Tom began to search. Elsewhere, in a mansion dripping with wealth, an old man named Mino lay dying. His daughter pleaded with the doctors for hope, but suddenly, the frail man sat upright and demanded food. His body had begun to regenerate, his strength to return, and on his hand, the same mark burned bright. Meanwhile, in a bustling electronics store, a boy named Zero amused himself. With a snap of his fingers, every television shut off at once. Sparks danced around him wherever he went, electricity bowing to his will. He was another of the 6, living lavishly, gambling, winning every game with his powers. Lisa and Tom began to search. Soon they discovered a third. Sophia, a woman who had undergone a kidney transplant. At first, she claimed she felt no different, but Tom reassured her. When all 6 came together, her powers would awaken. Fate soon brought these threads together. Lisa, Tom, Sophia, and Zero found themselves seated at the same table, trading stories of their extraordinary gifts. Trust, however, did not come easily. Tom warned Lisa, "Among us, there will be one who is evil, someone who craves power for themselves. We must choose wisely who we believe." His words proved prophetic. Across the city, the shadow of greed and ambition stirred. Mino, rejuvenated by stolen vitality, craved more. His daughter Tina, once hopeful for his death to inherit his empire, now trembled at his unnatural youth. Her eyes gleamed with calculation. If she could harvest these powers from others, she could build medicines worth fortunes, medicines that would cure the incurable and crown her richer than kings. The hunt began. One by one, Tina's men targeted the Chosen. Tom was ambushed, drugged. Sophia and Zero were seized. Finally, they came for Lisa at her own doorstep. Her father stepped forward bravely, ready to defend his daughter. But Lisa, faster than the eye could follow, dispatched the intruders in secret, letting her father believe it was his fists that triumphed. Still, her friends were taken, captured, imprisoned in a facility designed to suppress their gifts. Meanwhile, Mino's power grew darker. With a touch, he drained the life of others, leaving them withered husks while he grew ever more youthful. But inside his mind, shadows stirred. Visions of a mysterious force that taunted him, tearing between youth and decay. His reflection twisted in the mirror, flickering between the face of a young man and that of a corpse. His hunger was far from satisfied, and so the stage is set. 6 strangers bound by fate, their powers both a blessing and a curse, hunted by those who would consume them, betrayed by their own doubts, and haunted by the question, among them, who will rise as hero, and who will fall into darkness? The storm reaches its peak. Mino, once a dying old man, now burned with ambition far beyond human greed. He no longer wished to merely live. He wanted to ascend, to devour every organ, every gift, every soul. He wanted to be worshipped not as a man, but as a god. Tina, his daughter, powerless against his growing strength, watched in horror as Mino stormed into the prison she had built to contain the Chosen. Her guards tried to stop him, but their bullets and fists meant nothing. Mino tore through them like paper, his eyes gleaming with arrogance. Inside, the captives struggled. Zero, ever cunning, tried to use his bound body as a weapon, snapping his toes since his hands were tied. Each snap sparked energy, opening doors, sending signals. One snap freed Sophia, another sent a coded message to Lisa, alerting her of his location. But before he could break free, the doctor struck him hard, leaving him unconscious. His cornea was already gone from one eye, but this sudden collapse ironically spared the other. Mino arrived before him, choosing not to kill Zero outright. Instead, he left him broken with John, whose liver was slowly regenerating. John, the healer, gritted his teeth in pain as he absorbed Zero's suffering, slowly restoring his injured eye. Meanwhile, Lisa was readying herself. Her father, emboldened by his earlier imagined victory against thugs, insisted on fighting beside her. And so, father and daughter marched toward destiny. Mino's hunger only grew. He organized a grand event, a spectacle for the public. Before the crowd, he revealed his youthful body, shattering a wall that had hidden his decayed, aged face. Gasps filled the air, some in awe, others in fear. But Mino was cunning. Fear would not bring worship. And so he changed tactics. Placing his hand on a crippled man, he healed him instantly, the man rising to his feet in disbelief. A sick girl followed. Her illness vanished as Mino touched her brow. The crowd erupted, falling to their knees, chanting his name. To them, he was no longer a man, but a savior. It was then that Lisa entered with her father. Mino, sensing her arrival, theatrically cleared a path, sitting upon a towering throne like a deity. The moment Lisa's eyes met his, she knew. This was the man stealing life itself, feasting on others' gifts. Rage consumed her. Without hesitation, she launched forward, striking him. Her kick snapped his bones, but Mino merely drank water, and before her eyes, his hand healed in an instant. Sophia and Tom arrived just in time. The trio stood together, their friendship reforged in the face of this monster. Mino grinned with satisfaction. "Perfect," he thundered. "All of you in one place. Now, give me your organs." Lisa's father, blind with pride, rushed forward. In a heartbeat, Mino swatted him aside, his body crashing to the ground. Lisa caught him, saving his life by inches, but fury erupted within her. She launched herself at Mino. The hall shook with their clash. Explosions, shockwaves, sparks of impossible energy. Lisa fought with every ounce of her strength, but Mino had 3 organs, 3 powers. Blow by blow, he overwhelmed her. Tom gathered his courage and unleashed a devastating gust of wind, forcing Mino back. The giant roared in anger, slamming his finger into Tom's forehead, knocking him unconscious. Sophia was next, seized in Mino's iron grip. But instead of despair, Mino saw something unexpected. Her ability to channel powers. She could transfer them, weave them together. "If I had your gift," she declared, "I wouldn't need to steal organs at all." At that moment, John and Zero stormed in. The 5 chosen now stood united. Mino, snarling, summoned every ounce of his might. The earth trembled as electricity crackled through the hall, ripping statues from their pedestals. Zero answered with bolts of his own, electricity colliding midair like a battlefield of gods. Lisa whistled, signaling Tom. With his last strength, Tom exhaled a furious gale, propelling Lisa forward. Empowered, she struck Mino with a blow so fierce the walls quaked. But still, He would not fall. The hall collapsed around them. Followers screamed, yet still worshipped their false god. Injured, bleeding, Mino drank again, his body stitching itself whole. He hurled the chosen aside, lifted Lisa by the throat. Blood trickled from her lips as she gasped for air. And then, Sophia's hands glowed. Grabbing Lisa, she poured healing power into her. Mino froze. His stolen gift had left him. Lisa roared, breaking free. With combined might, the five struck as one. Their powers fused. Lightning, wind, strength, healing, colliding in a storm of unstoppable force. Mino stumbled, weakened. And then, the most unexpected strike of all. Lisa's father, untrained, powerless, but fueled by love, delivered a single kick. It landed true, sending Mino sprawling, stripped of his strength. His body withered, aged in seconds. The illusion of divinity shattered. The throne that once elevated him now mocked him. The crowd watched in horror as their god transformed before their eyes into a frail, pitiful old man. Their devotion turned to disgust. Mino, who sought eternity, was left with nothing. The chosen stood together, victorious, yet scarred. They had faced not only a monster but the temptation of absolute power. And now, dear listener, a question remains for you. If you stood among them, if destiny placed the mark upon your hand, which power would you choose? The strength to crush steel like Lisa? The lungs to summon storms like Tom? The eyes to command lightning like Zero? The healing touch of John? Or the rare gift of Sophia, to unite the powers of all? Which gift would you claim?